Why does Tom Ripley feel familiar? Why do we find ourselves drawn to characters who operate outside of the normal moral bounds of society?
Ripley, with his suave, agreeable, and utterly amoral nature, compels us to question our own values and the dark allure of living vicariously through his exploits. What is it about Ripley's chameleon-like ability to assume new identities that captures our imagination? His talent for imitation and identity theft is unparalleled, reflecting deep desires that resonate with many of us. And can we ever truly disentangle ourselves from the moral ambiguity Ripley embodies? Despite his actions, there is an undeniable empathy that surfaces, pushing us to confront the unsettling reality that we might not be so different from him, after all.
In this video, let's dive into the shadowy world of Tom Ripley and explore the blurred lines between right and wrong, self and other, and reality and aspiration.
Why we're drawn to anti-heroes like Ripley. Anti-heroes like Tom Ripley fascinate us because they embody the complexity of human nature. Ripley's actions, driven by desires and ambitions that many of us can relate to, force us to reconsider the boundaries of morality. His blend of charm and moral flexibility invites us to explore the darker sides of our own characters. What does this say about us as individuals and as a society? Are we all capable of crossing lines under the right circumstances? He's just another guy, just like one of us. For instance, Walter White begins as a sympathetic character whose descent into the criminal underworld is initially justified as a means to secure his family's future. However, his journey evolves into a quest for power and control, marked by increasingly questionable decisions. Ripley and White share a commonality in their strategic manipulation of others for personal gain, yet Ripley's motivations remain more enigmatic and less tethered to any moral or emotional anchor. Where Walter White's actions are often driven by pride or desperation, Ripley's seem to stem from a deeper, more innate desire to transcend his own circumstances, a desire that we all certainly have. The appeal of these characters lies in the relatable nature of their ambitions and fears. Through Ripley's adventures, audiences are invited to question the very nature of identity and the fluidity of morality. His actions, while often reprehensible, are executed with a level of rationalization that challenges viewers to consider what they might be capable of under similar circumstances. The allure of identity and imitation. Ripley's skill in forging identities resonates deeply with the universal human desire for transformation and escape. His success in assuming new personas without losing himself prompts us to question our own sense of identity. How fluid is our own self-concept? In a world that often feels confining, Ripley's ability to remake himself offers a thrilling, albeit morally ambiguous form of liberation. Ripley's life is a series of calculated impersonations, each more daring than the last, allowing him to navigate various social landscapes and evade the consequences of his actions. His transformations are not merely physical, but involve deep psychological manipulations, showcasing a profound understanding of human nature. This capacity to mold his identity at will, to slip into the lives of others while retaining his core self, speaks to a deep-seated human fantasy of reinvention and the desire to escape the limitations of one's circumstances. We all, at some level, imagine and daydream of a life different from our own at some point. Don Draper, another iconic TV anti-hero, also does this. Draper's entire persona is built on a foundational lie about his identity, shedding his past to reinvent himself as a successful advertising executive. Unlike Ripley, Draper's transformations stem from a desire to escape his traumatic past, leading to moments of existential crisis and a constant fear of exposure. Where Ripley's transformations are a means to navigate and manipulate his world, Draper's are about running from who he was. Another one is Dexter. Like Ripley, Dexter assumes a mask to blend into society, but his dual identity is driven by an internal compulsion rather than a strategic choice. Dexter's struggle to reconcile his murderous desires with his yearning for human connection and normalcy echoes the broader theme of identity conflict. Yet unlike Ripley, Dexter's transformations are fraught with the tension between his true self and the facade he presents to the world. Both Ripley and these other anti-heroes tap into the allure of fluid identity, the idea that we can reshape ourselves in response to our desires or needs. However, Ripley stands apart in his almost joyful embrace of this fluidity and the power it gives him over his own narrative. This contrasts with the often troubled and conflict-ridden transformations of Draper and Dexter, who are driven by a need to conceal or compartmentalize aspects of themselves rather than by the liberating thrill of reinvention for its own sake. Ripley's journey invites us to ponder the moral ambiguity of self-transformation. In a world that values authenticity, Ripley's chameleonic abilities challenge our notions of truth and selfhood. His success in remaking himself, while thrilling, raises questions about the ethical implications of such fluidity. Is there a line between adaptation and deception, between reinvention and erasure of the self? How many of us harbor secrets, big or small, that we fear would change how we're perceived were they brought to light? What masks do we wear daily, and what truths do we conceal beneath them? This moment of reflection brings forth uncomfortable questions. Are there aspects of ourselves that we deliberately keep hidden? And if so, why? Is it the fear of judgment, the potential loss of relationships, or perhaps the threat to our carefully curated images? Much like Ripley's skillful manipulation of his identity, we too might find ourselves curating the aspects of ourselves that we choose to present to the world. But beyond the surface-level facades, there's a deeper, more existential query at play. These characters, through their elaborate ruses and the secrets they keep, challenge us to consider the fluidity of our identities. Are we truly fixed beings, or are we, like Ripley, capable of remolding ourselves to fit the narratives we wish to live out? And in this capacity for transformation, do we lose a part of our authentic selves, or do we simply embrace the complexity of human nature? In Tom Ripley, we find a reflection of our own inner conflicts and aspirations. The line between right and wrong becomes blurred, not just for Ripley, but for us as observers. His journey offers a unique lens through which to examine the complexities of identity, morality, and human desire. Ripley, in all his ambiguity, acts as a vessel for our darker curiosities and a challenge to our understanding of ethical boundaries. So as we navigate our own stories, perhaps the question isn't whether we have secrets or not, but rather how we choose to live with them. If you liked this video, please let us know by clicking like, commenting, or subscribing. It's the best way for us to know how to refine the channel going forward.